What's up guys, Ben here with Hamilton Bait and Tackle, and what I wanted to do today is to really break down one of the brands that we've had in our store now for about the last year, and that is going to be Geecrack. So I've spent the better part of the year, and a lot of the guys in the store have spent the past year really fishing these products, getting to know them, figuring out what the best ways to rig them are, and a lot of us have really built a lot of confidence in fishing the Geecrack bait. So what I want to do today is to just kind of run down quickly what my favorite ways to rig them are, and maybe give you a couple of different ideas on how to maybe either try a different technique or use these baits in a way that you haven't done in the past. All right, so the first product that we're going to break down here today is going to be the Bellows Gill. Now these are available in the SAF material as well as in elastomer material. They're available in a small finesse 2-inch, a 2.8-inch size, a 3.8-inch size, which is probably the most popular size, and then also a 5.8. Now with the SAF or the non-elastomer and then the elastomer version, there's a couple of different ways to rig them. Starting out with the 2-inch, I will throw these on a drop shot. However, probably my favorite size to throw on a drop shot is going to be the elastomer 2.8-inch. And when I am throwing this, I am throwing this on something like a owner cover shot hook, or in this case I have a pack of the BKK straight shank drop shot hooks. Essentially what you've got is just a smaller light wire flipping hook with a small keeper on there. And with the elastomer versions of the Bellows Gill, these hooks line up just about perfect. And then also too, with the elastomer version, you don't have to worry about them, tearing or ripping. One of these plastics will last you, a dozen or 2 dozen fish. So in a lot of the places where we like to fish, up north, especially Lake Erie, they're keying right now in on shad, and the flash gill and the 2.8-inch Bellows Gill has continuously got me bites when other baits like the Berkeley flatworm or the Z-Man Z2 and Baby Z2 maybe just aren't getting bites. So if you're looking for a different style of bait to try drop shotting this year, I highly suggest you look at the 2.8-inch Bellows Gill. Okay, so now for the 3.8 and the 5.8-inch Bellows Gill. This is going to be more of your just traditional style bluegill bait, and when I throw these, I am going to either throw them weightless or on a weighted swim bait hook. So as you can see, it is a very long, flat bluegill style profile bait. And what Geecrack's known for is the deep ribbing in all or a lot of their plastics. And it really just allows for a lot of water displacement and a lot of drawing power when it comes to these baits. So when I am throwing a 3.8-inch, I tend to use just your traditional like EWG hook. This right here is one of the BKK Permalock hooks. I like these when it comes to these baits, especially the elastomer version, because it allows you to add a weight without having to use like a weighted swim bait hook like the Owner Beast hook. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to take this weighted nail keeper, which acts like the screw lock on the Owner Beast hooks as well. You just shove this into the nose of the plastic and then rig it like you traditionally would. And then when you do rig this, you can tuck the top of the hook into the top of the ribbing here, which just allows for a little bit of a weedless presentation. So if you're throwing the 3.8 or the 5.8, you can throw them weightless because the plastic is dense enough. However, if you're looking for a way to get this bait to sink just a little bit quicker, I highly suggest either looking at the Owner Beast hook or something like the BKK Permalock hook. Another great option is going to be something like the Owner Flashy Swimmers. So lastly, the other way that I like to throw the 3.8 inch size specifically is going to be on a free rig. So I would say by now most everyone knows what a free rig is, but if you don't, please feel free to leave a comment down below and we'll do a full breakdown video on the best way and gear to fish a free rig. All right, so the next product that we're going to talk about is going to be the Bellows Shad. Now these are available in a 2.8 inch size as well as a 3.8 inch size. Now the 2.8 inch size was released back just about a month ago. So I spent a lot of time fishing the 2.8 inch size as a trailer on a small little finesse jig. So this one here is one of the finesse jigs that we actually pour and tie in-house. This is going to be a 1/4 ounce on a 2-aught Gamakatsu hook, and the 2.8 inch Bellows Shad just really adds a little bit of bulk to the finesse jig, but it also adds a ton of action and has the infamous SAF scent in it as well too. So as you can see, when you would rig this, it is going to be perfect for this. You may have to trim off a little bit of the nose section, but I found that I tend to get a few more bites using this style trailer on a finesse jig than I would using just a small little crawl style bait. So now on the 3.8 inch size, and I just want to do a quick side-by-side comparison so you can see what the difference is between the Bellows Gill here and then the Bellows Shad. So I've thrown the 3.8 inch Bellows Shad on a drop shot. Once again, using one of the long shank drop shot hooks from BKK or Owner. However, probably my favorite way to use the Bellows Shad is going to be as a trailer on a chatterbait. Now, there are a couple different options. The 3.8 does come in a elastomer version, which is going to hold up significantly better on a chatterbait. I don't feel like the action may be quite as good as the just plain SAF material. However, it tends to rip after 1 or 2 fish. So if you're a guy that doesn't like to change trailers out all the time when you're fishing a chatterbait, I would highly suggest looking at the elastomer version. I will say it is extremely difficult to get threaded up over that keeper, but once again, that kind of comes with a trade-off. You're not constantly having to change out plastic. So when it comes to this trailer, there are a couple of different ways you can rig this, either vertical or horizontal. Now, most of the time I'm going to rig this in the horizontal position. However, if I'm trying to get this chatterbait to maybe stay up in the water column just a little bit, I will rotate this and fish this horizontally. I just feel like it allows this chatterbait to stay up in the water column a little bit better. So if you are looking for a little bit bulkier, size trailer for a chatterbait, this is going to be a great option. It is going to add a little bit of bulk to it. However, once again, the ribbing really helps with water displacement, and just the slightest little bit of movement really gets this tail kicking in the water. So this has become probably my favorite chatterbait trailer, and if you haven't tried it, I highly suggest picking some up. All right, the next product that we are going to talk about are going to be the Bellows Gill swimmers. So these, once again, are going to make a really good just swim bait style option. The other option is you can use these and fish these as a trailer on, say a jackhammer as well too. So if you're going to fish these as just a swim bait, let's see. If you're going to fish these as a swim bait, I highly suggest looking at something, once again, like the Owner Flashy Swimmer or a Owner Beast Lock with a twist lock on it. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when you rig these on those, the top part of the hook is going to be basically staged or set in between these deep riggings. So you do need to make sure you have a rod that you're fishing with that is stout enough that you can really drive the hook home. I have noticed that the hookup ratio sometimes maybe isn't the best on the bigger size due to that little bit longer gap. So once again, just make sure you have a rod that is heavy enough that you can actually drive that hook home and out of the way of this plastic. So Once again, if you're looking for something that you can fish as either a swim bait or throw on the back of a jackhammer as a trailer, the 3.8 or the 4.2 inch Bellows Gill swimmer would be a good option for you. All right, next, Geecrack offers the Bellows stick in a 2.8 inch all the way up to a 8-inch worm. So on these smaller sizes, they do offer these in a elastomer version. So I'd say 90% of the time I'm going to fish the elastomer version in that 2.8 or 3.8 inch size on a Ned rig. If I am fishing something like a 4.8, 5.8, or an 8-inch, I'm gonna throw those just on your traditional worm hook, Texas rigs. All right, so if you're looking for a way to fish either the 4.8 or the 5.8, one of my favorite ways is gonna be on a Nico rig. And one of the products that I wanted to touch on real quick is the Geecrack Nico hacks. So essentially what this is it's just gonna be a clear piece of tube. They also offer it in a black color as well too. And what this allows you to do is to set up a Nico rig on things that are a little bit more difficult to get an O-ring around. So for instance, you can fish the Nico hacks on the 3.8 inch Bellows Gill. So where before it would be nearly impossible to get a, an O-ring or one of the, VMC crossover rings around this bulky piece of plastic. But what this allows you to do is to get your hook through the center of it and fish it like a Nico rig. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to take this piece of plastic, run it through the bottom and out the top. And if you can see on here, there is a small little opening where your hook is going to go through, and then all you are going to have to do is cut the top off. So what I have here is one that is already rigged. So I've got just a Ryugi Talisman Brutal 1/0 hook here, and it is run through that top of that Nico hack. So this allows you to, once again, just be able to fish a Nico rig on something that you traditionally wouldn't be able to get that O-ring around. And then the only other thing that I have to do is just trim this little extra piece on the Nico hack itself. But as you can see, I mean, this thing's stuck in there. It's not going anywhere. There's two little teeth on the bottom of this Nico hack that allow that thing to stay in place. So if you haven't seen these before, they're super effective. They don't come out like you would expect them to just pull out. So I highly suggest picking up some of the Geecrack Nico hacks and trying something a little bit different. Try fishing the, either 3.8 inch Bellows Gill. You can fish the, 2.8 and 3.8 inch Bellows Shad. So give them a try and see whether or not you have any more luck getting bites on something like this when your traditional Texas rig isn't working. All right, so the next new product from Geecrack that's been out now for a couple months is going to be the 18-inch G Crazy worm. So yes, this is an 18-inch worm. It is probably one of the hardest baits to keep in stock right now. There are a couple of different ways to rig this. A lot of the times they're going to use the Nico hacks like I just explained, fish this like a Nico rig, and then there is a flat side on this bait that allows you to add just a small little nail weight to effectively be able to fish this as a Nico rig. The other option that I have seen guys do is they will actually loop this around. So you can place like a VMC crossover ring here in the center and still use something like a 1/0 Ryugi Talisman hook. But what this really does is it changes the profile on this bait and makes this maybe a little bit more manageable if you're in parts of the country where you're not around double-digit bass all the time. So just another option for you if the traditional just Nico style isn't working for you. Try maybe making this a little bit smaller presentation for the fish you're around and fishing this coiled kind of like this, kind of like similar to how you would put a night crawler on a hook when you're fishing for bass or catfish, things like that. So this still has a ton of action in the water, so be sure to, if you can still find these in stock, pick some up. All right, so another new product from Geecrack here is going to be the SAF Stick. These are going to be available in a 4 and a 5 inch. Now these are just going to be more of your traditional style Senko. They are infused with that SAF material, that salt amino flavor, so gives that traditional Geecrack smell. If you don't know what it is, Fritos or corn chips is probably the closest thing that I can come up with. And once you smell it, you won't ever forget it. So once again, these are just a traditional Senko. There's a ton of different color options, some a little bit more unique, different color options out there than other traditional Senkos. So if you like the Geecrack scent and the products, I highly suggest picking some of these up. All right, so the next two products we're going to cover are going to be the Bellows Craw and the BaoBab Hog EX. So these are primarily going to be thrown as trailers. The Bellows Craw, not only for myself, but some of the guys here in the store, has become one of their favorite jig trailers. You can throw this on just like a small little Texas rig as well too, but I'd say 90% of the time I'm going to throw that as a jig trailer. And then the BaoBab Hogs, these are, once again, they can be used as a jig trailer or just a flipping bait. So these are going to be a little bit different. They still have the SAF material, but they're infused with garlic as well too. So they do have an extremely strong garlic smell. But they have got a ton of different color options, and a lot of the color options, the tips on the tentacles there are going to be dipped. So like this one here, orange, there's some that are chartreuse, just gives a little bit of a bright little color option in the end of your flipping bait or as your trailer. All right, so the last bait that we're going to cover here today, and one of the ones that we have gained a lot of confidence in, is going to be the Imo Kemushi. So these are going to be available in 3 different sizes. The first one being a 40, which is the pink, and then they also have a 60 size. And then if you want to jump it up, they have a 95 as well. So when it comes to the 40 and the 60, there's going to be 2 ways that I'm going to fish these, either 1 on a Ned rig or 2 on a drop shot. Now the hook size will change depending on the size that you're fishing. If I'm going to fish the 40 size, I'm going to pretty much traditionally use just your regular drop shot hook. If I'm going to bump it up and fish the 60 size, then what I'm going to do is use like an owner cover shot 1/0 size hook and just thread this bait on. Now, on the 40 and 60 size, I will also fish both of these on a Ned rig. I would say predominantly I'm going to fish the 60 size. However, sometimes when you need to trigger those bites on hard days, downsizing the actual size of your bait sometimes will help you get extra bites. So I know depending on the size Ned rig hook that you're using, there may be a fair amount of hook exposed. However, for some reason, the smaller profile baits will help me sometimes get bites when I can't seem to get them to eat the 60 size. Now, when it comes to the non-elastomer, non-floating version, I have gained a ton of confidence in this 60 size, fishing places like the Detroit River where there's current and grass. So the way that I'm going to fish this is just on an owner cover shot 1/0 hook on sinking braid. So what you're going to do is just make a long bomb cast up somewhere in shallower water, allows this bait to sink and really just float across the top of the grass, and it really triggers fish when they're extremely pressured. So whatever it is with the the craze going on right now with the fuzzy dice or the fuzzy baits, anything with appendages or legs, it does get bit, and there is, for whatever reason, a little bit more of a drawing power in this. Now, if you are going to fish these weightless, if you do need to get that bait down to sink a little bit quicker, say the current's a little heavier, or you're just trying to get that bait to fall a little bit faster, the one adjustment that you're able to make is to throw a small nail weight just in the body section of this. You're just going to shove this thing in back there behind the base of the hook, and this is going to allow that bait to just fall just a little bit faster, especially days where maybe the current's a little bit stronger, things like that. So the SAF material ones are available in 4 different colors now. be sure to hurry up and get them. I don't know how long they'll last, but we do have a decent amount of stock in the 4 different colors that are available now. So if you're looking for a new fuzzy style drop shot bait or Ned rig, I highly suggest looking at these. These have probably become not only mine, but a couple of the other guys here in the store's favorite bait to throw on either a drop shot or a Ned rig. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up with the products that we have here today for Geecrack. There are other products out there that they sell that we don't carry. However, the ones that we fish all the time are the ones that we carry here in the store. And if you have any other questions as far as, other options, how to rig, hook size recommendations, things like that, or if there's other rigging videos that you like to see, be sure to leave us a comment and we will try to work through those as quick as possible. Also, another thing that I wanted to mention is we do have a community Facebook group page on our Facebook. So what we'll do is we'll leave a link to that below. There are specials, different updates that are happening here with the store that we don't post on other social media spots. So if you are looking for up to date, or you have a question on what size hook to use or what color bait is working right now, be sure to just leave a comment in there. Either one of the guys from the store, a lot of our pro staff, will be able to help answer those questions for you as well. So that is all I have here for today. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next one.